So guys, recently Sowore instigated his followers to start calling Peter Obi launderer-in-chief because of the Pandora paper, whatever that happened years back. We know that Peter Obi has always come out to say that he is not guilty and he is not guilty. We know if people like Peter Obi are found wanting in any area, Tinubu will not want to spare Peter Obi in a minute. I mean, Tinubu will use the EFCC to pursue the person of Peter Obi. Not just Tinubu, even Buhari before he left office would have blown on Peter Obi before leaving. But guess what? Like Peter Obi always tell us, he is a transparent man. He has got nothing to hide. I've decided to bring this video to you guys to see what happened and how Peter Obi got involved in Pandora paper. And Peter Obi has equally come out to say that he has never used Pandora paper before he came into office, during his stay in office, even after he left office, using Pandora paper investment to launder money, buy property outside, or do anything that is against the law. This company, offshore investment, was set up by his financial managers in the UK just for him to be able to run his businesses very well. It's just like you securing a company or owning a company. With that company, you can majestically walk into the bank to get loan. And when they look at your company, they know how grounded your company is. They cannot deny you that loan. And with that loan, you'll be able to make other businesses. You know, you'll be able to establish other businesses. That was actually what Peter Obi did. And he did all these things before coming to Nigeria to run for political position. And he has come out to say, if you ever found that this company laundered or was used for anything that is against the law, you are free to confiscate it. I'm going to allow you to take a look at Peter Obi's one-time response around Pandora's paper. I hope Sowore will watch this video and tell his followers that they owe Mr. Peter Obi an apology. Take your time, watch this video, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now take a look.
Number one is that I'm not guilty. Trust company is a legitimate vehicle used everywhere globally for investment, savings, and estate planning purposes. It's allowed by law everywhere. In my particular case and that of my family, it was done on very valuable advice of our then bankers, Lloyds TSB. This is what they did to all their international clients who operated at the time I lived in the UK. They will help you to see that you formulate a trust company offshore, and that is what we did. This company was never used to launder money before, during, and after till date. So it wasn't used anytime I was in office for anything. Two, it was never used to buy property before I went into office, during the time I was in office, and after the time I was in office. It was strictly a trust company that savings and family planning that was strictly used to support our borrowings, which we even invested in this country. And they are facts, they're not things that you can, that's it.
Right.
So,
well, according to confidential information, you have about $500 million squirreled away in the British Virgin Islands and in Switzerland. Can this amount be described as legitimate earnings?
well, I wish, I don't think I would even be here if I had that type of money. But let me tell you, you know, when people banding money or talk about money and size of money here, it's because we're not a productive country. People don't work for their money. So we find it difficult to understand value of money. And I'll take time to explain this to you. Globally today, the world population is 7,750,000,000, out of which only 37.5 million is worth $1 million. That is 0.05%. Only 3 million, which is 0.04%, is worth 10 million. And only 300,000 is worth $25 million, which is 0.004%. So when people call these figures, it's alarming because of the fact that we live in a country where people make money they don't need and everything. If you go anywhere near this company being mentioned, its accounts, everything globally, and find more than about 3% of the value you mentioned now, 3%, I'm talking about $15 million, out of which 70% is supporting a loan of investment in this country, then confiscate everything, even confiscate everything I have in my life. If you go to this, do you know what $500 million is? $500 billion today in Nigeria is almost 300 billion naira. My entire earning while I was governor, Anambra State received, was under 500 billion, out of which I say 15%, 75 billion. That is, you're talking about, I don't know where people call figures here, and that's why people try to make money they don't need. What do you need that type of money for? Why do you have to do that? The money, the trust company is there. And one of the challenges I'm going to throw today is to ask you and some other people to select 1, 2, 3, 4 persons that have foot their bill to follow the trail of this company to where it is today. And see the formation, who gave the advice, how we came to it and everything. Please, there's nothing, you won't even find 5% of that, of what the figure you called anywhere. If I have $500 million, well, I don't know what I'll be doing. You would have seen me building, you know how many schools and institutions I support? I've been building universities all over the place.
Let's talk about Next International UK. They said you didn't resign as the director, of Next, and 14 months after you became the governor, you were still director of Next. Tell us about this Next International company.
Let me tell you. Let me start. Next International we had a company in Nigeria called Next International Nigeria Limited. It's an offshoot of Next International Nigeria. That was Next International UK, which I run as managing director and everything. This company is a UK-based company. It's a brand management company that we're representative of companies like Heinz, a number of multinational companies in West Africa, and I was the CEO. And it's good that I tell you the background of how I became governor. I was living in the UK, operating in Nigeria. I declared the governor and winner of the election on Thursday, 16th of March, 2006. On that day, I was presiding over Fidelity Bank board meeting as the chairman. And I have members, you can ask this. One of the members is somebody you value a lot, Bismarck Rwani was a member of the board. Leighton Dubiskama was a member of the board. Jara Magoro was a former Ondo chairman, was a member of I was the chairman. I was presiding over a board meeting, and suddenly, Leighton Dubiskama said, "Stop, Mr. Chairman." I said, "What?" He said, "You've been declared the governor of Anambra State." That was on a board meeting. And that was how the meeting stopped. From there, I called, and they said, "You have to proceed to Abuja to meet for INEC to give you certificate of return." So I left board meeting, went to the airport, got the next flight, went to Abuja. By 6 p.m. that day, they gave me certificate of return. And I said to them, I want to go back to Lagos the next day to bring my clothes, just clothes, to bring a few things so I can go to Oka for this way. They said, no, that please, you need to proceed to Oka immediately because the then governor, Dr. Chris Ngige, because of his circumstances, have left the country. Immediately I was declared, he lost his immunity, so he left through the borders and left out of the country. So there was no government in Anambra State. So that's how the next morning I moved to Oka. Arrived Oka, just took a flight to Enugu, arrived Oka. As I arrived Oka, they took me to the chief judge in a small space. He said, these are forms for you to fill to declare your assets. I filled that form about 30 minutes, whatever I could remember. The next thing I was sworn in as governor. When I finished the swearing in, I asked, okay, so I'm not sworn in. Where does the governor live? They say, because that time, The governor's lodge was burnt down. The office. I said, where is the governor? Does the governor live? They said, there's no house. Where is his office? There's no office. So what do? Any paper, anything, nothing. I managed to get across to somebody who got across to Chris, who said, there's nothing. So I moved to my village. And that was where I stayed there. That was the government. From there, I phoned every company. Let me start with Next International UK. Next International UK, just to show you, I brought this and I keep this with you people. Next International UK is a company that is, as at that date, I'm telling you, receives overdraft from Lloyds Bank of over $7 million. This is a trading company. As at that day, have over 200 containers on the sea and everything. And I've just been announced governor, and here I'm running a company. So the only thing I could do is to phone my wife and said, because she works with me, everybody knows in the company, I'm the CEO, she's my deputy with other. I said, you take charge, I will never come to London again, see what has happened to me. And I was chairman and director of about 11 companies, even in Nigeria. I phoned all of them, said I've resigned. From that day that I went to Oka until I was impeached in November, I never left Oka. Not one day. I resigned. And I wonder what, even at times, I even wonder, why is there an issue 15 years after I was supposed to resign?
So did you
resign?
The needful
completely.
From Next? And did you also put Next in your form? Did you, the asset declaration form, did you declare Next in there and all?
When they talk about the declaration of forms, again I said, what I declared, when you talk about declaration, I just told you a story now that this company is owned by Next Nigeria. Because at times they say, oh, you didn't declare. I said, no, I didn't declare one. Assets with people. I didn't declare some assets because those assets have been declared somewhere. So if I declare Next Nigeria that I own 5%, I don't have to declare another interest that Next Nigeria owns. Just like they want to say, and I didn't declare something because they were subject of things that were bought from borrowed money. If you borrow money from me and buy this suit, when they ask the owner, you have to put remark that you're owing somebody because it's not your suit. I can come to collect it tomorrow. So what I tell people is that I declare things that belong to Mr. Peter Obi. Not even Peter Obi and wife and children. No, because I can tell you, I don't know how other people operate. In my house, my wife will always remind me that this thing belongs to me. It's not your own, no. And my children will do it with emphasis. My daughter will even do it with emphasis. Daddy, we agree that this thing is this. So if you want to, let me tell you, when I said I want to go and do politics, it's not the first thing they will ask me. Daddy, I hope that what you're using to use your politics is your own money. Don't bring us into it. We are not part of it. So I don't go and start declaring things that does not belong to you. You declare things. The purpose of assets is to declare. And most of the assets that are declared have been declared somewhere. So you can't declare a company. For example, I own shares in a bank with my name. I declared it. I didn't declare the one, say, Next International owns, because I've already declared my interest in Next International. It will amount to double declaration.
Well, except that, someone will say in the assets declaration form, you're also required to state the assets, that you jointly own, either with your spouse or, that belong to your children. But the question has been that when you set up a trust or a company overseas, do you agree with those who have been alleging that this is strictly for the purpose of tax evasion, to avoid tax due to the Nigerian government?
Ruben, I can tell you, I'm a faithful citizen of anywhere I've passed through. I cannot evade tax. It will never happen. Every investment I've done globally is legitimate and pays tax. I just shown a paper I said I live here. If you're a black man in London, you're a suspect. If you're in Nigeria, you're a double suspect. For me to live in the UK where my bank can write here and say his account has been conducted in an impeccable manner and gives me over $7 million overdraft. Ruben, that's all. I pay my taxes. If I earn anything in the UK, I pay the UK government their tax. I own a property in London. I pay tax. I cannot come and pay property tax in Nigeria for a property I own in the UK. Money I earn here, I pay tax. Don't forget that I was subject to probe of tax about 2 years ago in Anambra State. And I showed evidence that in the past 20 years, I've consistently paid my tax and I've never paid less than 50 million naira annually. So I pay my tax. There's no issue. It's because maybe, like they expected when they're talking about $500 million, and they think it's about tax. No, the tax are duly paid for investment incomes as expected. I cannot evade tax.
So what about the specific allegation? You've talked about your resignation from Next International. You've talked about your assets declaration. But the specific allegation that you broke the law, that you flouted the provisions of the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act and flouted the Constitution by having foreign accounts.
No,
Can you address that?
I didn't. I never did. I didn't break the law. Simple. Everything I did was within the line, and I've told you also the circumstances in which I became governor. Everything I did was within the law, and I've told you the circumstances in which I became governor as well. Notwithstanding, even that there was never a time anybody said to me, Peter, come. The reason why you see election, when you have election, it takes 3 months for swearing in, is to be able to have orientation. Notwithstanding that I never had any orientation, nobody said to me, you have to do this, you have to do this. But by my own commitment to do the right things, I tried to stay within the law. And I can tell you, I was within the law. What you're seeing now is the situation where, we've looked for everything. If we can't find anything against this man, since he's been, since he's going about preaching about saving, preaching about this, let's just throw anything on him. What I was preaching about saving is what I did. I'm always happy when I see Ruben here, because Ruben was part of a government that I participated. The very first day I became governor, the first thing I discussed in my ESCO with my executives is that we must save money. They came up and said, why? I said, listen, as a father, I save money for my children. And they know. So I must save money for the children of Anambra State. Even when I was impeached, go and read my impeachment notice. One of the third point of why I was impeached is saving money without authority of the House. I came back from that impeachment. I said, we must continue saving. As long as I'm here, whenever we receive our FAC allocation, the first thing we do is remove money for pension, remove money for gratuity, remove saving, pay salary, then the rest we can work with. If you don't do it, I'm not part of it. And this you can see everywhere. If you go to Ngozi Wala's book, which you can see, page 61, he showed it there that all the governors, all of us were in a meeting, refused when he was talking about saving. And he said there, only Peter Obi, who argued for saving, was shouted down by his colleagues. It was only Leali Moke that supported me. If you call Sheguna Aganga, when he was doing sovereign wealth fund, he would tell you, he's in his own notes, that only Peter Obi who supported sovereign wealth fund to be set up and savings. If I have opportunity of being part of Nigeria at the helm, the first law I will take, the first executive bill I will take to the House is that Nigeria must save money. We must have at least 5 to 10% of our resources from oil, from mineral resources, from natural resources, saved for future generation. Because the expiring assets, every country is doing savings. That's why we have a problem because we don't save. You must save money. You must bequeath your children a better place than you found it. And that includes saving for them. I save for my family, and they know.
Okay. So just confirm for me again, as way of housekeeping, the $500 million is a phantom amount.
No. I said
and if you have 1/3 of that, like you said.
No, I didn't say 1/3. I said if you go there and find more than 3%, which
more
is
than 3%.
About 3%, which is about $15 million.
Okay.
If I bequeath my children $500 million, I've cost them.
Okay.
There's money you bequeath people, you cost them.
Okay.
You bequeath them what is manageable and everything, so they can start their life.
Okay, so $15 million
I said
is the number.
If you have something, if you see anything more than that, confiscate what I have overseas and locally here.
Okay, so $15 million. But you always question, President Muhammadu Buhari's borrowing. And he said in this last budget statement that we pretty much spent our way out of a recession. What can you say about that? Well,
when people said, former minister said that they spend their way out of recession, the first thing you do when you have a recession is very simple. You have to cut your costs. You cannot continue to live the same life we lived when things were normal and when you were, of course, not borrowing, when you're borrowing. When I'm talking about borrow, okay, you spent your way out of recession. What did you achieve? Before recession, a bag of rice, for example, is about 12,000 naira. We went into recession, and we are not out of recession, it's 30. Leave all this economics, let's deal with the reality of the ground. Things have changed. So when you say we have come out of recession, what are we? What I said is that if you must borrow when you're in recession to come out, you have to throw the money to critical areas that not just pull you out of recession, but can grow your economy and make it work. The borrowing was thrown away. Can they tell us how it was spent and come out of recession? We're not America, where people can just borrow money to consume, and because it's a developed economy. This is an economy that requires critical investment in critical areas, and money were borrowed and for consumption.
Okay, well, I get the point that you've made about borrowing. You've been very consistent. But on that same occasion, President Muhammadu Buhari said the problem is not debt, that what Nigeria has is a revenue problem, and that his administration is committed to ensuring a revenue to GDP ratio of 15%. Do you think that that is achievable?
Well, it's not achievable.
It's not?
It's not achievable. Not at all. Not even in the next 5 years. I can tell you that. It's not achievable. It's very simple. Ruben, we have a problem, a debt problem, not revenue problem. We have a debt problem, not revenue problem. Don't look at your debt to GDP. Look at your revenue to your debt to your revenue. That is what you should compare. Why do I say it's not achievable in the 5 years? There's a simple link between pulling people out of poverty and increasing your revenue. It's a simple thing. We're talking about tax revenue everywhere in the world. You cannot have 98 million people in poverty, and you're talking about revenue. Who is going to pay you the tax? Where are you going? If you look at, let me give you an example of countries, comparable countries of our size. Philippines today is revenue to GDP of 14.1%. Their unemployment rate is 4%. Vietnam is about 12% to GDP. Their unemployment is 6%. Bangladesh is 9%. Their unemployment is 6%. I can go on and show you countries like that. Indonesia, their unemployment is 5%. Every country that have achieved, and this is about 9-10%. And look at the unemployment, it's below 10%. You have unemployment today unemployment and underemployment of almost 50%, which will even be more when you check that you have 98 million people. The working population of Nigeria is 120 million, out of which only 55 is working. So if you want to double this revenue, by the time you put 30 million, half of those here, you double the revenue. But if they stay there, you cannot double the revenue. It's a simple thing. Ruben, if you're not working, will you pay tax? You're paying tax because you have a job. 3 of you have a job. That's why you can pay tax. In my own village, I can tell you, my village, 70% of people don't pay tax. They actually live off begging. So how would they pay tax? So it's simple. The more you put people out of poverty, the more your revenue increases. Once the economy is growing, the faster the economy, the more you can create revenue for development. That's what happened. And that's why I said borrowing is not a problem. You can borrow money, but what you use it for? An issue of savings, you can even save when you're borrowing. No way. With a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund, $1 trillion, their debt to GDP is 34. They're borrowing, they're saving. Japan, with 200 and something debt to GDP, is saving. So if we organize ourselves properly, we can do all these things, pull people out of, create more revenue, invest it properly, and that's it.
Right. I was actually looking to quote exactly what the Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning said about the 2022 budget as presented. And she said personal costs, debt service and capital expenditure account for 85% of the 2022 budget, and there's little scope for cuts in the medium term. What's your response to that?
Well, I don't like talking directly about their budget and everything. First is that you have a budget that is skewed towards personal cost, current expenditure. It shouldn't be for a developing economy. And then you talk about borrowing. We've now agreed that our borrowing is going to be about 6 trillion, which you're looking at about 30-something% of. I can tell you it will be worse. In that budget, you see where they even made a provision for putting money into the sinking fund. This year, unless it started yesterday, they've not put any penny into the sinking fund. And they're borrowing more. And they say they're borrowing for infrastructure. And show us, be specific. Specific. Egypt borrowed money to fund Siemens Power. Specific. So we know this money we're borrowing, we're going to give it Siemens because we want them to generate ABC and this. So we know what, or we're giving to those who are generating power so that if we give it to them, they will do this, they will do this. But don't make it look as if what is talking, I don't know, the minister of government. That's all I can say. I just know that things are not the right way.
But they also say GDP numbers will increase. Any possibility of that based on the fact that when you look at the parameters around? And I also want to ask you about the benchmarks, for this budget. What's your take on the benchmark?
The benchmark is reasonable. But what I wanted to see about benchmark is where Nigeria will sign and said, anytime we are above our benchmark, anything we earn goes to sovereign wealth fund. That's so serious. This idea of having SS crude account and lasting this long is what I found very, very annoying. Why can't we have a law that said we must save this amount? Whatever we earn from oil, this amount, this is an asset that is depreciating and diminishing. And one day it will end. Why don't we just have an amount that we throw into, even if it, and have our sinking fund protected, because this is how we're going to pay this loan. So if you say to me, like the GDP is going to, this GDP thing is there, you can make anything of it. I will know that the GDP is growing. The president promised to pull 100 million in 10 years out of poverty. That's 10 million a year. They haven't done, in the past 6 years, they've thrown more people into poverty. So nobody was pulled out. And now 1 year to go, he said he will put 100 in 10 years. I can tell you, what I want to see is the GDP that will pull 1 million people out of poverty in the next 1 year. Let's see people who have come out of poverty. Let's show us the critical areas you're investing this money and how it is going to happen and everything. That is what is important.
Well, we've been talking about the Pandora papers, the economy, budget, and all of that. Let's talk about your state, Anambra, where in the last week or so there have been talks about the likelihood of a state of emergency being declared in Anambra State. With the Attorney General of the Federation saying one thing, the governor of the state saying another thing, and everyone expressing anxiety about whether or not the gubernatorial election of Anambra State, scheduled for November 6, will be able to hold, particularly as INEC itself is asking for security to be able to conduct that election.
Well,
a major stakeholder.
Let me first tell you that
concerns?
people in government, when they make statements, should always, first of all, evaluate and think about the implication of their statement to the overall well-being of the country. I've said it, and what it is, people don't know that the greatest contributor to GDP growth is intangible assets, which is security, law and order, and even behavior and statements of the leaders. Their statement can actually hurt the economy and hurt the place. So they should always ensure that their words and their statements are something that have gone through scrutiny. Saying that you have to declare state of emergency in Anambra State because of insecurity should actually mean that you need to declare state of emergency in Nigeria. Because if you want to declare state of emergency in Anambra because of insecurity, you have to declare state of emergency in Nigeria because of insecurity. So that statement from the Attorney General shouldn't be. Also, he is the Attorney General of the Federation, not Attorney General of federal government or APC. There's positions you are now working for government. Ruben, when you see me come to Economic Council and everything, or come to Economic Advisory Council, I don't come there as Peter Obi, who is governor of Anambra State. I come as one of those who are leading Nigeria, who is leading one of the sub-nationals that will contribute in building a better Nigeria. And that's how I speak. You don't go and speak. It's the Attorney General of the Federation, not of federal government, not of APC. Also, I listened to the comments from my governor, who said he did not attend meeting because his colleagues are sponsoring those who are coming to cause problem or kill people in Anambra State. I think that is the reason why he should have gone to the meeting, where there was a gathering of those people, plus all the leadership of the Southeast, and look in their face and said, you are the problem. All these things that people will come and grandstand in TV should stop. And I listened to an insensitive statement from him saying that just because 15 people died, those 15 people includes 2 professors of medicine. No. I went to collect Chika Akunyele's calls from the police. And there I saw 3 headless people. We have a country. We should be sensitive to one person dying as we are to 20. I said every day, when people ask me about 2023, I said, people are dying in the north every day. Every day I get up, Reuben, I pray for this country and say, God, whatever offense, forgive us. What is happening in the North should be of worry to me as it is to anybody, even when I'm not from there. So, federal government should not talk about state of emergency. Failure of security in Anambra State is their failure because they're in charge of security. Unless they're saying they're going to declare state of emergency on the country. And everybody knows that. They have to work. All we are asking in Anambra is let's have a free and fair election. That's all. One person will be governor. I was governor. I was elected twice there. I was the only first person. I never one day, in fact, I didn't know that Anambra would ever get at this stage.
Nobody saw that coming, but as we only have a few minutes left, what are your thoughts on the same topic on November 6th, the election? And, you know, there's a lot of opinions flying around. Will the elections hold? Will they not hold? Where do you stand on this issue?
For me, the elections must hold. There's no reason why the elections won't be. You know, yes, there's issues of problems of insecurity, which is now being addressed and under control. If the government wants it to happen, they can put it under control and be able to. And I've already called collectively. That's why I said that my governor would have attended that meeting and resolved it with his own colleagues in the south. You don't start, instead of start dividing. Let us go there and say, these people is coming your own. Listen, when I was governor, I had a notorious criminal coming from Enugu to operate in Anambra State. I had a notorious criminal coming from Abia to operate in Anambra State. One from Enugu, they call it Gwekelo. This one, they call it Osikanko from Omaya. Because we were working together, I was able to tell me and the new governor agreed. We know the days this man calls for operation with his gang. And we decided on that day, once he entered Anambra State, they blocked Enugu. I blocked this place. And police, as they were chasing him, he had to abandon his cars and everything. I wanted to swim across the stream, and he was caught. And that was the end of him. Same thing happened with the one from Umaya. The one from Umaya kidnapped this innocent motor. He kidnapped the people that came to work for innocent. We followed him to Umaya with cooperation of the government of Abia State. That was the end of it. Even an Anambra person who lived in Omaya, who was operating in Anambra, he would come and operate and go back to Omaya, called Ofaku. It was, so you go and sit down with your colleagues, look in their face and say, hey, I have a problem. This thing is coming from your state. Then we can. This is how, then they resolve it. The election should go on. Let them use it even as an experiment to do free and fair election, by even transmitting the result electronically. It is all this rigging that is causing problems. If you ask our people to come out, they vote for the person they want, and that's it.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Let's talk about the PDP matters now. A couple of governors came together and they said they unanimously had a vote and they went one way, that the leadership of the party should, the chairmanship of the party should go to the north, and invariably what it means is the fact that the presidential ticket will be zoned to the south. But that has been meeting a lot of reactions. Some people are saying that's not cast in stone and the likes. And Chief Raymond Dokpesi, a PDP stalwart, came out yesterday and said that the presidential ticket should be zoned to the north. What's your reaction to statements like that?
Well, you know, the highest body of the party, the National Executive Council, have decided, from my own, I didn't attend personally, but from what I heard and from what I got as the feedback, that they decided the chairmanship should go to the north, and that the presidential ticket should be open to everybody. And that is their position. And that is the position of the party. Everybody has to obey it. I'm an obedient party person. Whatever the party decides, we will. So my commitment is that if they say it's by zoning, please, any zone where it is zoned, let's go and find competent person. There must be so. Every zone in this country have competent person that can do the work. Let's find competent person that have capacity, that is visionary enough to pull this country in the right direction. Not to pull it out for the problem, because the problem is enormous now, that you can't pull it out. Is to let us start moving in the right direction. Where we're going now, our compass now is pointing we're moving in the wrong direction. Not that anybody, it's not this government, it's not anybody, it's that we have done the wrong things over the years. So we need to see people who are committed to pulling this country in the right direction, who understands that now we don't have money, we don't have to be doing all sorts of things, we need to cut our costs, we need to do this and everything. Competent person is critical, it is important. If they say it's open, again, let all those who say, or who say they want to be president, come out so we can actually start evaluating them. What you see now is that everybody is keeping quiet. I can tell you one of the most, something somebody told me years back, that is, not even years back, about a year ago. He said to me, Peter, let me tell you, in this country, they usually don't allow somebody who comes out and talk to be anything, because you can be talking. And he gave me an example. That this man was talking too much. They brought this man. This man was talking too much. Brought this man. And I said, that's the problem. Because we never heard from this man. He just comes from the blues. We left Reuben, whom we know where he stands. And all of a sudden, we go and take Reuben's brother, John and Betty, we never heard from. And he comes and starts at that stage. He didn't promise you anything. He didn't say anything. Because we're avoiding Reuben, whom we know he stands. And people say, oh, Peter, your problem in Anambra State is that people suffered when you were there. That's why everybody is scared that if you get to anywhere, nobody will eat anything. I said, what do you mean? Weren't people being paid salary? Weren't people eating and everything? I said, people were eating. Those who suffered, or those who wanted to take public money for free, we didn't have money to offer anybody for free. That's why we saved. He said, oh, but the one you saved, I said, I saved it because it belonged to the people of Anambra State.
Since you know how to save, what about you? Why are you not putting your hat in the ring for this presidential election?
No, well, let's see where...
Since you can run a company that, like you said, good overdraft, you run it successfully, and you always say Nigeria needs a business leader to be able to put things together and someone that understands. Why is it not time for you to...
Well, we're waiting to see what the party decides.
Okay, so you'll be running once the
No, when they decide, it is when they decide, and we make up our mind and say, we're going to go this direction or this direction. You don't go before the party. I'm a party man. I want to see what the party wants to do. But for me, I will never be part. I said, 2023 is critical. This country is collapsing. Economically. All these things we are saying, all these are problems, you see. It's an economic problem. If you start pulling people out of poverty, you start reducing all this criminality that you're seeing today. It's happened everywhere, from Brazil to Philippines to Bangladesh to Indonesia. The more they pull people out of poverty to Vietnam, and you see it growing. You can't throw people into poverty and think you can go home and sleep. It's simple.
Well, Mr. B, it appears as if this conversation is generating a lot of interest out there. People have been sending in observations and questions. Now, this person says, look, we shouldn't close the Pandora's box yet. So maybe we'll go back to the Pandora papers and reopen it. And he's asking that, look, he knows you more as an economist, analyzing the economy, at various fora. That what business exactly do you do that you can afford to keep maybe $15 million in an offshore account? Well, I know what to do, but you never know.
He asked a good question. I tell the person, let me tell you, Ruben, when I came here, I brought a few things that ordinary is personal to me. I lived in England. When they introduced American Express card, platinum card, I was living in England when they introduced it. And they said 5,000 people will get it. Those 5,000 people, their card showed charter member. This is my own. Showed their charter member. Member since 1987.
Can somebody use it on your behalf?
No, so I lived in England, Ruben. I
know you don't need to look at it.
Ruben, I lived in England when American Express introduced black card. And they said 1,000 persons will be issued with this card. I have it here, so Shatter member. To tell you my experience in this card, they told me to go and collect this card somewhere in Sloane Street around Harrods. I got there. When I came out from the station, the man who was in the office where I was going to collect it asked me, who are you? And I introduced myself. He said, how did you come? I said, I came from Knightsbridge underground. He said, well, underground? I said, yes. Who are you? I called my name. He said, we don't have any name or card like that here. So I left to go back to the station because what I use in England, everybody knows is underground. I was going back to the station when my bank manager called me and said, Peter, go back there. I think they found the card. What shocked me is, how can this man come from underground to collect this card that everybody have come to collect Rolls Royce on this one? Ruben had a viable business. If anything, politics, I'm not regretting. Because everywhere I found myself is grace of God. That's why when I went into the same politics, when people say this person is doing this, I say, listen, I came here by grace of God, I won't abuse it. Otherwise, if there's anything to regret in my life, it's going into politics. Because he made me poorer. But however, I'm glad that God allowed me to also make a success of it.
Mr. B,
so
maybe you have to be
the
more
business
specific.
I'm doing,
what kind of business?
I'm telling
How
you,
did you make the money?
I'm telling you, the business I'm doing, that I was a brand and market management company that I run. I had a Heinz franchise. You can go and look. I was the sole importer of Heinz salad cream, baked beans. Just to give you an example of one company. South African breweries, who is the international breweries, I was their sole engineer. I can go on and on. I was working, bringing the Ovaltine for Novartis with another company. When I can go on and everything. In fact, to tell you what the company is, the company I was involved before, when I left and my brother took it over and paid me off, sort of became Next Cash and Carry that you see in Abuja and Port Harcourt now. So it's the same company. I was a trader. Everybody knows I was a very big trader. Even chairman will tell you. Chairman knew I used to import wine and used to send him champagne. He will tell you that when he was in Sowore, when all of us were still at the struggling stage. So I had a viable business, but went into banking. So if the person wants to know, I was sitting on board of 3 banks, could be chairman of one before I became governor. So that is also a business.
So guys, many people have always said that Sowore going after Peter Obi is not going to gain him any respect, it's not going to gain him followers, rather it's going to narrow down his chances in the political space in Nigeria, and that is already happening. Personally, I came across so many responses from Nigerians who say, wow, Sowore, I never knew you are someone like this. Oh, Sowore, I never knew you are like this. Oh, Sowore. I personally came across so many reactions, you know, to Showore's post where he was calling Peter Obi Launderer-in-Chief. Nigerians were so disappointed for somebody who wants to hold the first position in this country will just come out without proof, without anything to back up what he's saying, calling another person Launderer-in-Chief. Peter Obi has always been that man who has proven that you can be a politician in Nigeria and be very clean, very transparent, very open, and without fault. It's not as if he's not a human. Yes, he's a human, but in his own little capacity, he tries his best to do things that are within the law. And that is why Nigerians are following him, following somebody they are sure is not going to disappoint them anytime soon. But people like Sowore take advantage of, you know, them being in the opposition, trying to play down on the personality of Mr. Peter Obi, calling him launcher-in-chief when Sowore has got no evidence. Now, you have heard it for yourself. Peter Obi said it's because they can't find anything to dent him. That is why they are resorting to this. They don't have anything to fault him. You know, that is why they are resorting to calling him out on this Pandora paper. Peter Obi knew the law before he went into this. And he went into it and he operated it within the law. He said before he came into office, he has already had this investment. It's not as if it's something he came to office and then he established. Unlike all these politicians, you know, that have been busy looting, they recover and they get the money relooted. Nobody is talking. Now, let me take you through some of the headlines on Twitter. Like the headline here is saying that bandits have killed over 10,000 Nigerians in Tinubu's first 2 years in office. Amnesty International reveals that. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions coming from Nigeria. That is Tinubu's achievement. Hey, bandits have killed. This is just a number that, you know, a random number. This is not even the exact number. So you can imagine if someone should really take his time to a kind of go deep. There are so many deaths that are not reported in Nigeria. The media houses are not doing investigative journalism anymore. Nobody goes down into the villages to know what's happening. It's only the few that, you know, let me say the internet captures, because this time we don't rely again on the media houses. This person say, in a Senate climb, the National Assembly will set up impeachment proceedings against the impostor. But we know in Nigeria, corruption and impunity always wins. What a country, what a people, what a future in wait for the unborn children. Nigeria, we hail thee. That is what this person is saying. If we were to be living in a better environment, you know, Tinubu will be asked to leave office for having shown capacity to destroy Nigerian people's life. He has shown capacity in allowing Nigerians to be quiet. He has shown capacity in wasting the lives of our military men. His own capacity is always in the negative. If we were in a sane society, Tinubu will be asked to resign. This other person said 200 million Nigerian minus 10,000 by equals to 190 million people. Tinubu policy is working very well and depopulates Nigeria. We are just too many for nothing. Can you imagine? This person is saying that it's good that Tinubu is reducing the population of Nigeria. What will I not see on this internet space? This other person said that the president that started planning on his re-election on the first day in office has nothing to do with the protection of lives and properties of Nigerians except politics. This president is total aloof, detached, and unconcerned about the plight of innocent Nigerians. Honestly, if you know what bandits are doing to Nigerians, if you know what bandits are doing to the lives of Nigerians, people traveling, you will weep. I mean, people are taken into the bushes and meant to see their own death with their eyes, with their naked eyes. Do you know what that means? They will want you to be crying and then be seeing your death coming. That is and nobody shows any concern. I mean, nobody. Now, this person say Amnesty International, 10,000 Nigerians by bandits under 2 years as presidency. APC, it is not up to that number of those killed under PDP. So this was